Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, distinguished members of the Fish and Game Commission, my name is Douglas Elliott, and I operate recreational fishing areas in Southern California. I would like to confine my comments today to two items in the initial statement of reasons for regulatory action, and I will quote directly from that. Number one, the proposed action will not have significant statewide adverse economic impact directly on businesses. Number two, because businesses in the non-exempt counties currently must obtain a permit, these are the non-exempt, must obtain a permit to stock fish in the waters of the state, it is assumed that requiring similar businesses in exempt counties to also obtain a permit will create parity, just parity, rather than additional significant statewide adverse economic impact. I submit to you, members of this commission, in my opinion, those statements are false. And let me explain. In the past, a stocking permit cost $54.50. It was primarily an administrative thing. You pay your fee, fill out the papers, and you got the permit. To make sure that I was on track, I talked to Tony Vaught, who had done so many times for his clients. And he said he had never had a permit turned down. He said, I filled out the papers, I got the permit, and he said there was never a biological survey or a disease certification. Well, now comes parity. Everyone must have a permit, but it's not this old permit, it's a brand new permit. And let me tell you, I again will quote from the eyesore. The new permit costs a minimum of about $150. Now that's not bad, but that's for one staff member, 2 hours to review, and 1 hour to process. That's regulatory action. However, the eyesore states, and I quote, a majority of the new applications, a site visit may be needed. Now the price is $744, and that's just for one staff member, 2 hours on the site, and 2.5 hours travel time each way. But the eyesore points out it may take several staff members and up to 12 hours to conduct this survey. And now the price is thousands of dollars. But it doesn't stop there. The eyesore also states, and again I quote, the pre-stocking permit will be, not maybe, will be evaluated by Appendix K of the EIR-EIS. This identifies some 65 species of plants, birds, frogs, amphibians, and all sorts of things. And it says, and I quote again, the applicant will be required to hire a qualified consultant to conduct that survey. That will cost thousands of dollars. But there is a more important factor involved here. Who is going to allow a consultant to get on his land if he has an agenda to find some sort of critter that might affect his land and create even a greater significant economic impact on his farm? As a businessman, gentlemen, and I am a businessman, I'm a licensed California pharmacist, and at one time I owned my own pharmacy. And I knew that it took a certain amount of revenue to cut the nut of my business. And by that I mean to pay the help, the inventory, heat, light, rent, and taxes. And I knew also back then that I had to fill 40 prescriptions a day in order to make a profit. And if I filled more than 40, I made a profit. And if I filled less than 40, I lost money. And it is this business concept that will kill recreational fishing in the state of California. If we lose one pond, one lake, one stream, or fishermen, we all are going to lose. And if we lose fishermen because they now have to have fishing licenses when they have not had to have them for over 30 years to fish in private and fee for fishing operations, we're all going to lose. And that means people are going to lose. We're going to lose places to fish, bait sellers, retail tackle stores, fishing tackle manufacturers. It goes on and on. Please, gentlemen, I ask you to table this measure until we can come up with some economic solutions to these problems. I state again, this will have a profound economic impact on recreational fishing, and there is no parity here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Ken Beer, followed by, I believe it's Shiraz Tangri, and then Rob Ross. Mr. Beer.
Commission members, Fish and Game. I actually wish I could have borrowed Scott's list. I'm an industry member of the Aquaculture Development Committee, have been since its inception probably around 30 years ago. And it's a subcommittee that's advisory to the Department of Fish and Game. And we were assigned a task, a subcommittee within that committee, to provide a response to the stocking regulations that the department had proposed. And this was back at our October meeting. And so we spent the months of November and December and early January canvassing industry people. I operate a fish farm, but we don't stock fish ourselves. But we talked with all of the major growers that stock fish and said, how would you like to see the regulations? And we'll try and draft them, and we will try and do it in a way that addresses the concerns that the department has. But our feeling was that the department's proposed regulations were intrusive, expensive. You've noticed these consultant surveys, that it really wouldn't accomplish what their purported goals are. But we did recognize, as has been mentioned here, that we're not doing things now as they were done 25 years ago. And probably that's correct. And so we felt there certainly were some things that needed to be addressed. So we tried to be responsible in drafting some proposed regulations. I would have liked to have, as I said, gone over Scott's list, because unfortunately we presented them at the latest Aquaculture Development Committee meeting, which was here about 3 weeks ago. And really it was just presented. We didn't have time for a major dialogue with the department representatives at that meeting. But it's apparent to me that some of what we drafted, and we were not experienced in drafting regulations, but were not completely understood by the department. But we agreed with the department with their proposal to remove our exemption of the exempt regions and the exempt species. And again, the species we're talking about are primarily channel catfish, rainbow trout, and the sunfish species, which are widespread throughout California and throughout that region, and have been for literally centuries. We provided to address the impacts. They say that we did not want to go with the pre-stocking evaluation protocol. We felt that a pre-stocking evaluation protocol that includes impacts on any native species is excessive. We did agree that we would address any impacts on any listed species, meaning threatened or endangered. We felt that we would address their disease concerns, but one of the reasons we wanted to include Phase 2 is the feeling was that certification of fish farms that routinely stock is a good way to address issues. Address issues. I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought here. But my bottom line is we went through a process. We haven't had time to address it with Fish and Game. We're asking for more time. It's apparent that Fish and Game didn't completely understand what we were proposing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.